What's up guys and welcome back to On The Brick. One misunderstanding about myself, which I have seen a lot, is the assumption that I am rich. I am not, and I never have been. I just love Lego. My family has never been what you might call privileged. While we were never really in poverty, my parents both had to work quite a lot to make sure that our family was fine. But this did mean that there were certain things that we either couldn't or simply didn't do. For instance, a $100 Lego set was usually the big gift at Christmas or the only gift at my birthday, which by no means am I complaining about. In fact, this is probably an experience most of you can actually relate to. In 2008, when the Clone Wars show was announced, one of the Lego sets that I knew would be coming was the New Republic gunship. Despite being one of my favorite vehicles from Star Wars, I was never able to get the original, and I knew that I wanted to get this one. At a $120 price tag and with no allowance, I had to work the entire summer, usually helping my dad, doing chores, that kind of stuff, because I was only 13, in order to save up the money to get one Republic gunship. It's the same one I still have and the same one you'll see in my other videos. I literally had to work an entire summer to get that one vehicle. I ultimately did end up getting more. But the point of what I'm trying to say is that it's not like I was able to just go to Walmart or the Lego store, because I didn't have a Lego store back then, and just ask my parents for it. But back then, one of my other favorite activities was watching YouTube, and specifically Lego Star Wars YouTubers. Some of my favorite channels to watch were $FrodoFan77 and LegoMan7777, both who have now stopped making videos. And some of my absolute favorite videos to watch were the collection videos. It was just nice seeing what people had. Most of them were actually pretty modest, but in every single collection video, the user would inevitably say the phrase, "It's not as big as Lego Boys," or "It's not quite what Lego Boy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 has." And if you're younger than me, then you probably don't know that name. But Lego Boy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 was an interesting channel and a little divisive amongst the community. This was a kid several years younger than I was who had a huge amount of Lego. It's almost unbelievable just how large this kid's collection actually was because, yeah, he was a kid. He had multiple channels back then, his normal one, an alt account, and a fan account as far as I can remember, where he did normal things like review Lego sets, but he also made stop motions and then talked about the behind the scenes stuff there, all that kind of stuff. Some fans really loved this and loved everything about this guy, but I also noticed a lot of people really didn't. There weren't massive dislikes, but there were people who were jealous or envious or straight up didn't like this kid. I personally reached out to him once on an older account asking for advice on being a Lego YouTuber, and was met with an incredibly rude response. Unfortunately, this was done using the now defunct private messaging system that YouTube once had, so I can't show you, but at the same time, do keep in mind that it was rude for 13-year-old me, and was coming from a kid who was several years younger than me. Still, that did put me off watching his videos because it became clear to me who this kid really was. He was making collection videos where he had hundreds of clone troopers, multiple ATTEs, multiple gunships, and most of that probably wasn't something that he had earned himself. I mean, this was a kid, even with an allowance, it would have had to be quite the allowance to get it. He also was a little full of himself at times, a little too happy with the minor modifications he might make to a set.
2005 turbo tank with extra mods like an extra chain gun and extra Republic colors with some special modifications from myself. Thank you, I'm awesome.
But he was a kid, and he also was one of the first reasons why I learned of Clone Army customs and started my journey into the custom world. In fact, Lego Boy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is probably the entire reason that On The Brick even exists, and that I like customs. But this video is about Minifigs4U, and that's run by a guy named David Hall who runs the solidbrixstudios YouTube channel, not LegoBoy1230. Unlike every single other store that I have ever talked about on this channel, like AV Figures or Clone Army Customs, Minifigs4U is different. Every other store that I have shown off on this channel is primarily a store first. If they happen to have a YouTube channel, it's usually to supplement the store. For instance, I know that both AV Figures and Nate's Minifigs have YouTube channels, but the store is the primary focus. This is the exact opposite. solidbrixstudios is the main focus, and the store is meant to supplement it, just like my store supplements my channel. And so, in order to talk about Minifigs4U, I also need to look at solidbrixstudios and David Hall. It's all one and the same. And while it has been 10 years or even a little more since I first started watching Lego Boy, and David has absolutely matured since then and changed since then, there are still some aspects of Lego Boy that I see in his videos today. Also, I want to say that there is an unwritten rule on my channel. If I am talking about you on my channel, whether I personally like you or not, just by showcasing you, I am saying you are worth checking out. I personally don't like Minifig Madness, but he has some really nice items that I think are worth looking at least. And there are also several vendors out there who I will just never talk about on this channel, and no, it's not who you're thinking of. But Minifigs4U lies somewhere in between. On one hand, a lot of you already know who he is, and a big reason why I'm even making this video is because I have received countless requests to. On the other hand, well, let's talk about that. For some people, it's really easy to separate the art from the artist, and for others, it's obviously not. For instance, I used to like Harry Potter until J.K. Rowling came out and made such hateful comments. Now, I cannot separate Harry Potter from her. But other people absolutely are able to and continue to go on reading the books or watching the movies and enjoying it as they always have. And for the record, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. And while I personally don't know David and can only go off of what I've seen from him, I have seen some cause for concern. David obviously isn't the only one who makes mocks, and by the way, I'm just gonna call him David because it's easier than saying solidbrixstudios every time. There are other people like Rich Boy J who has kind of disappeared recently, or the Brick Wiz, or so many others. And I actually got back into watching David because of his Kashyyyk mock. I was recommended the finale to that, and I went and I binge watched the entire series in just 2 days. I didn't have much to do back then. And that series, to me, is still the best that he's ever made in all his mocks. It's not the best mock he's made, but it's the best series about making one. I personally think his Mandalore mock is the best, for anyone wondering. But the reason I say this is the best series is because it wasn't about him, it was about how to make a mock. Every video was describing the process of how to do this. There's an entire video of just how to order pieces from Bricklink, which is where I learned. And every single video taught something. And his newer mocks just don't do that. He doesn't explain the process of doing things anymore as much as he does just showing you what he's made. And sometimes I get the impression that it's not necessarily to share it with you and say, hey, look at this awesome creation, but instead I get the impression that he wants to show you what he made and the accomplishment that he did. While that's not the case in every video, it is there. And that's why I found myself just skipping the parts where he talks just to look at the actual mock itself, which is what most people are there for. Also because there's a lot of repetitiveness, he talks about nothing, and the phrase is without further ado. Without ado means nothing in the context. But these mocks are funded in part by his store, Minifigs4U, and yes, we are finally there. I first purchased from Minifigs4U years ago with his Phase 2 Cody. It's actually the very first minifig showcase I ever made on this channel. At the time, it was a nice minifig, and there's a reason that I chose for it to be the first. I just really liked it. While I do remember it took a little bit to ship, I had no hassle from him or anything, and it came great. I was even able to email him about it, had a response, it was nice. Unfortunately, my latest purchase was absolutely terrible and revealed quite a few things about David. The last time I tried to purchase from him was for his Season 7 Echo. I had one once before but gave it away in my 500 subscriber giveaway, and that one was from eBay Engineerio, and I actually also thought that this one looked a lot nicer. I made this purchase on September 16th of 2020. Now, I'm going to do a full review of this figure on Sunday, so a lot of what I'm about to say is probably going to be the same thing I say there. When I purchased this figure, it said very clearly that the expected release date was the 16th of October 2020. Well, October came and went, and absolutely nothing. When I checked the website again, it had been updated to say November instead. Then November came and went, and I checked the website again, and now it said December. So this time I reached out to Minifigs4U and to David using the email on his website. I just asked him when this was going to be released, and I got no response. He never responded to me at all in any way. December came and went and still no release, and now it said it would be coming out early February. And I want to remind you at this point that he was not updating this in any other way. He was not putting this out on his YouTube channel. He was not putting this on his Instagram, which he is active on. He didn't even put this in the news and update section of his own website. It was literally just the tiny banner on his website that changed. That's it. So I would email him again. I would reach out to him on Instagram. I eventually even just tried to call him out on my Instagram story to get some sort of response from him because he just was not responding. And he never did. To this day, he never has. And while I certainly think that people like AV have bad customer service, I can't say the same about Minifigs4U because he has no customer service. It's absolutely non-existent. If you're going to be selling things to customers, even if it's a pre-order, especially if it's a pre-order actually, you need to be ready to answer their questions. Otherwise, you should remove this email me any questions line on your website because that's straight up a lie. Technically, this isn't untrue. You can email him, but he never says anything about bothering to respond to you or caring about what you actually have to say or your concerns. Sure, you took my $30 5 months ago, and yeah, I'm concerned about what you're actually going to do with that money, but no, I guess you don't need to respond about that. That's fine. And yes, I did eventually get the figure with one of the worst echo arms that I've ever seen. But it doesn't just end there, because Minifigs4U is deceiving you. I know this because if you go down here and look at the reviews left for this echo figure, you will only see 2 5-star reviews. I left a review of this figure that was not 5 stars, and it's not anywhere to be seen. Which tells me that David is actively censoring which reviews show up so only the best are seen, even if they don't make any sense, like this one from 2019 when the figure wasn't even available. And if that's the case for this Echo, I guarantee you it's probably the case for other figures he sells too. But there's also a much bigger problem that he just doesn't actually say. He didn't design this figure at all. He didn't design this or many of the figures on his website. This and a lot of the figures on this website were actually designed by a guy called Bagel Studios. Is that mentioned anywhere on his website at all? No, of course it's not. He'll talk about how the helmets aren't made by him, and he'll always point out what he did make, like on this crosshair where the only thing bolded is how the custom printed helmet is made exclusively by him, but he doesn't mention that the body, the backpack, and the rifle aren't. Also, on a side note, this actually isn't even what the helmet will look like, so despite being the only thing made by him here, you don't actually know what that will be. Also, this rifle looks extremely familiar. In fact, Big Kid Brix's version of Crosshair has the same one. Sort of. Big Kid Brix's version actually is the non-Lego version as far as I can tell. And I talk about that in depth in my video about it, but I do think this Minifigs4U version is actually the Brick Arms one, because Minifigs4U's weapons usually are from Brick Arms. But if he's not being honest about who even made these figures, it does bring into question what else he's not being honest about. And of course, I have to talk about this Cody. This is a quote-unquote deluxe Commander Cody that costs $37. This is one of the most expensive custom minifigures out there, in terms of clones at least. And why? The description says that what is included is a new custom printed design of Cody using genuine Lego parts, 2 Clone Army custom helmets, both Phase 1 and 2 with visors, 2 Brick Arms DC-15 weapons, 1 genuine Lego Clone Trooper printed head, and a genuine Lego hairpiece, along with a Clone Army custom jetpack. So wait, let's take a second and actually look at what that says. Out of everything on this figure, the weapons aren't from Minifigs4U, the jetpack is not from him, the head is not from him, the 2 helmets are not from him, so the only thing that's actually from Minifigs4U is the torso, which is not even 360 degree printed, which is not deluxe, and also wasn't even designed by him. Now, wait a minute, because if he's getting these Clone Army custom Cody helmets, then that must mean Clone Army Customs sells a Cody too, right? Of course he does, and I also made a video for that. And the funny thing is, this figure, which is 360 degree printed, has a base price of $32, and even if you get all the accessories, including a custom printed head, the visor for the helmet, a second weapon, and even include a jetpack, it's still cheaper than the quote-unquote deluxe version. Sure, you don't get the second helmet or the hairpiece, but you also don't really need those considering that you're only ever going to display the figure with one of those. You can't have the figure wearing 2 helmets. But the video of this thing makes it seem like it's the best Cody out there ever. And look, I can't blame the guy, he needs to sell his product. But it's just not genuine. Out of the 8 things included in this figure, only 1 is technically made by him. While I'm sure David means no harm, like I said, there's still a lot of Lego Boy in him. So would I buy from him? Personally, no. No, I would not. Not only are his figures rarely ever in stock, they are ridiculously expensive. His customer service is absolutely non-existent at all. He manipulates reviews to only show the good ones, gives credit to the big companies like Aerialite or Clone Army Customs, but gives absolutely no credit to the people who actually designed the figures he's selling, and honestly makes it seem like he designed them and did all the work. I've always said that customer service is a huge part of your store. No matter how good your product is, if you have terrible customer service, it's just not worth it. So to take someone's money and continuously put off when you're actually going to release the product and not even bother responding to them about that, especially when you very clearly say questions can be asked on my email, it's just not worth it. I hope you continue to make more awesome mocks, I really do, and I like seeing what you can create, but I cannot tell people to support the store when there are better, cheaper, and far more genuine options out there. Those are my thoughts on this, but please do let me know yours. I'm sure I've probably angered a few people in this video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and as always, a huge shout out. Actually, pause. David, why don't you have a Patreon? Or do you and I just don't know? This would be another way for you to fund your mocks, and I'm sure with how big you are, people would love to sign up. That's actually a really genuine question. And for the rest of you, please do consider signing up for mine if you want to see more custom figures, more reviews, and more custom Lego at all. And a huge thank you to those of you who already have, especially the people like Jonathan and Project Elements. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time.